Okay, class, welcome back. We're going to be covering Cluster 4, Lesson 4, Two-Way Tables Part 2. And in this, we're going to be talking more about what we call relative frequency tables. Okay? So two-way tables can display percentages or ratios. The relative frequency may be displayed as a ratio, a decimal, to the nearest hundreds, or a percent to the nearest percent. The ratio of 1 or 100% occurs only in the cell in the lower right corner. This is our total cell, where we have to find out how many people actually been surveyed. Okay, so dealing with relative frequencies, we're going to look at a table. We're going to break a couple things apart about this table. Now, when we look at this table, we're looking at the first part, especially for this one. We have these numbers here: the 21, the 135, the 39, and the 45. One is dealing with the sports utility vehicles. The other one is dealing with sports cars. Okay. Now, when we look at these numbers actually have a name because that's of the section that it is in that table, and this is going to be called our joint frequency. Okay, with joint frequency, these are the entries in the body of the table. So we're going to put that here so we'll know exactly what this definition is. Okay, now with us knowing that these are the entries within the body of the table, they're called joint frequencies. Now, when we learned about two-way tables, we noticed that the numbers that are in the middle will add up to be the totals that are on the outside. And the totals on the outside have a name also. So we have a total set that's on here and down at the bottom. Now these two sets of totals have a name also, and they're going to be called our marginal frequency. Okay, with marginal frequency, these are the cells in which contains the sum of the initial counts by row and by column. Okay, so we need to know that these are definitely the cells which contain the sum, okay, of the initial by row and by column. Alright, so relative frequencies have two new definitions that we're covering, which is joint frequency and marginal frequency. Okay, the joints are the ones that's in the middle, the body of the table. The marginal frequencies are our totals. Now we can use these two things, and we're going to use them to get decimals and percentages. Okay, so let's look at our first example. To calculate the relative frequency, we have to take the entries and divide it by our totals. Okay, now if we look at this table, they haven't gave us any totals, so we have to go through and find all the totals. So I'm going to add to my chart that they gave me, and make one row down here called total, and then I'm going to come off to the other side and make a row called total. Okay, so if I go ahead and calculate my totals, we got 58 plus 38, that's going to give me 96. Then I got 62 and 79, add together 141. Then 30 plus 45, that's going to give me 75. Okay, then I'm going to go across my rows. We got 58, 62, and 30. Add that together, that's going to give me 150. Then I got 38, 79, and 45. Add those together, it's going to give me 162. Okay, now that I have my totals, I have to calculate the relative frequency. So it says that we got to take the entry and divide it by a total, but the total that I don't have just yet is my total of all. So in order for me to find my total of all, I have to add up either row or column of the totals. So like for me, I'm going to take 150 and 62 added together. That's going to give me 312. And just so you know, this is going to be your total of all. Okay, so I'm going to use my total of all, and I'm going to use that with my entries to find my relative frequency. So for that to happen, I have to do every one of them. Okay, so what I mean by entries, these are the entries: the 58, the 38, the 62, 79, 30, and 45. And I gotta take those and divide it by my total of all. Okay, so the first one we have is 58 being divided by 312. When I divide that in my calculator, it gives me 0.185. Remember, it's to the hundredths place. Hundredths place is 3 decimals. Okay. Then the next one we have is 38 divided by 312. That's going to give me 0.121. Okay. The next one is going to be 62 divided by 312. And that's going to be 0.198. After that, we got 79 divided by 312. And what that gives me is 0.253. The next one we got is going to be 30 divided by 312. And that's going to give me 0.096. And then the last one is going to be 45 divided by 312. And with that, that's going to give me 0.144. Okay, now I also have to do my total row. So I have to do all of this totals right here that we have at the bottom. I have to do that, and then I also have to do the ones off to the side. Now if I do my totals that are at the bottom, that's going to give me 96 divided by 312. 96 divided by 312 is going to give me 0.307. Then I got to do 141 divided by 312. That's going to give me 0.451. And then the last one at the bottom is 75 divided by 312. And that's going to give me 0.240. Now if I go off to my side over here, okay, we got 150 being divided by 312. That's going to give me 0.480. And we got 162 divided by 312. And that's going to give me 0.510. Okay? Alright, so I have all my relative frequencies as a decimal. Now I could go in and change those decimals to fractions. To percentages. And the way you change them to percentages is you're going to times them by 100, and that'll give you your percent. Okay? We're going to practice that in class, but this is how we find our relative frequencies as decimals. Okay? And like I said, if I wanted to go back and get those as being a decimal, I will take each individual decimal that I got, times it by 100, and it's going to give me my percent. Okay? So this is that first example that we have, how to find the relative frequency. So if I wanted to, I could go right beside each one of them and fill in their decimal. So like this one is 1.85. The one under that one is going to be 0.121. One beside 62 is going to be 0.198. 79 is going to be 0.253. 30 is going to be 0.096. 45 is 0.144. And then my totals have their own relative frequencies as well. Okay, so that concludes the first example. We just had to find a relative frequency